Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, air, restoration, and flood services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit BillHowe.com. And by the Conrad Trebas Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
They were turned away twice last month, but today San Diego's congressional Democrats got a look inside a controversial immigration detention center downtown. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. The representatives were checking out reports that people were being held in subpar conditions in a courthouse basement. KPBS reporter John Carroll tells us what they say they found.
The representatives emerged from the Edward J. Schwartz courthouse this morning, satisfied they were finally able to inspect its basement detention center.
There are 8 holding cells of various sizes, which are rooms with sort of metal benches in them, and a toilet that's sort of half obscured. It's got a wall next to it, but it's basically open. Some of them have showers in them.
Some visitors who say they've been in the detention center have reported upwards of 100 people being held, but the representatives say they only saw 3 people during their visit. One of them was a plumber who was arrested while he was working.
He's really disoriented at the moment because he was just arrested. He went to work. He has 2 children. He had to call his wife and say, hey, I'm arrested.
Representative Mike Levin says it's important at times like this to remember why ICE was created after 9/11.
For national security and public safety. So what the hell does being a plumber here trying to work have to do with national security or public safety? Absolutely nothing.
So what good did today's visit accomplish? Representative Sarah Jacobs says just showing up helps.
We do know that when we show up, things get better, that the people who work here know that they're being watched, that they know that we're going to ask questions, that people get treated better because we are showing up and asking these questions.
These members of Congress say they will continue to conduct oversight. They say they'll be back for another visit. Whether they tell us in the media about that one remains to be seen. From downtown, John Carroll, KPBS News.
San Diegans can expect breezy, warm conditions this holiday week. KPBS environment reporter Tammy Murga shares what recent rains mean for wildfire risk.
Widespread heavy rainfall soaked San Diego County just last week. Now, a warming and windy trend is in the forecast. The National Weather Service says light to moderate Santa Ana winds are expected through Thanksgiving Day. They arrive tomorrow morning,
with the winds peaking sometime on Wednesday afternoon and then waning off into Thursday.
The region's more populated urban areas won't feel intense Santa Ana winds. Sebastian Westering is with the National Weather Service. He says stronger winds will impact mountain passes, canyons, and foothills.
Areas further east of Ramona, El Cajon, sort of in the foothills and in the mountain passes like I-8, the I-8 corridor going down into the deserts will be the areas that notice the more significant winds.
Winds could exceed 40 miles per hour in those areas. The Santa Ana conditions will also bring warmer weather. Temperatures will climb into the high 70s across the region. They will continue to reach above normal on Thanksgiving Day. Forecasters say wildfire risk is lower because of the recent rainfall.
The soil moisture levels are certainly a lot higher, and so is the vegetation moisture. And so the risk of fire starts relative to what we could be seeing this time of year is definitely lower.
He says the risk isn't zero.
If the power line knocks over or if there's a spark created on the road, then the winds can definitely fan those flames and start a fire.
The National Weather Service says the past 3 storms brought between 1 and 3 inches of rain throughout the county. Tammy Murga, KPBS News.
We have a chilly night on our hands as we step a little deeper into Thanksgiving week. Tonight into early Tuesday morning, we'll get down into the mid-40s in Oceanside, 51 into San Diego, Ramona 40, 44 at Borrego Springs, and Mount Laguna drops to 38 degrees. Good news here. We got some great weather, at least in the southwestern U.S., including all of California, for travel on this critical travel week. We'll have your complete forecast coming up. There is some more action next weekend.
With Thanksgiving just days away, we're officially kicking off the holiday travel season. As of 5 p.m., there have been 109 delays and 2 cancellations at San Diego International Airport today. If you want to spend more time with the family, the airport has a new program that lets you do just that. The San Pass program lets people without a ticket go through airport security so you can say your hellos, your goodbyes to your loved ones right at the gate.
Sounds amazing. Because I know, like, people usually get left off like a whole hour beforehand. That's a whole hour that you could spend time with them. So it'd be nice. It'd be really nice just to see them one last time.
So here is how you can get San Pass. You can apply the same day or up to 7 days ahead of time. If a date is not available, that means capacity for that day is full. Enter your full name, your date of birth, gender, exactly as shown on your TSA-approved ID, and watch out for an approval email. Advance requests are approved after midnight, and same-day requests take about 15 minutes. If you're picking up an unaccompanied minor, you don't need a San Pass. Here's a lesser-known fact among American consumers. The Tuesday after Thanksgiving is when the travel industry offers some of the best discounts on trips. Coming up, some tips to make the most of your Travel Tuesday this year. About 15 years ago, San Diego Unified School District set a big goal: create a quality school in every neighborhood. For this week's Why It Matters segment, Voice of San Diego Scott Lewis explains why that plan never materialized.
School district leaders were openly troubled by the fact that more than 40% of students and their families chose schools outside of their neighborhoods. District officials vowed to change that, and the plan was called Vision 2020. Here was then Superintendent Sydney Martin in 2014 describing their goal.
To assume that it's better someplace else without looking in your neighborhood school. We say you're going to make a school better by engaging in your local school and be a part of it. We don't want your kids on a bus for 2 hours every morning to get to a school across town when we say there's no place like home. Look in your own backyard.
Vision 2020 dominated district discussions for a decade, but now it's hard to get anyone to talk about it. We decided to check. After years of action to make schools that were losing families more attractive, did anything change? The short answer: no. 15 years after the commitment, almost the exact percentage of families chose schools outside of their neighborhood. In 2011, 58.5% of students who lived within the district boundaries attended their neighborhood schools. In 2024, 58.9% did. During that period, the district spent billions to rebuild schools. It also dialed back programs that ferried kids out of local schools, and they adopted more rigorous graduation requirements. Still, nearly 40,000 students avoid their neighborhood public school in favor of ones in other parts of the city, charter schools, or some other form of education. District leaders say there are some success stories of schools keeping local kids. But leaders of some of the schools still struggling to convince neighbors to stay say the vision was unworkable. Disparities in educational outcomes between different schools and enrollment declines continue, and young people entering college unprepared for that level of schooling remains a problem. For Voice of San Diego, I'm Scott Lewis, and that's why it matters.
Voice of San Diego is one of our partners for the Public Matters Initiative. You can learn more at kpbs.org/publicmatters. One of Their Own is a new investigative podcast from KPBS. It explores the tragic death of San Diego police officer Sierra Estrada in 2018. 8 years later, her family is still fighting for transparency and accountability. Here is a part of the first episode entitled Sierra, which begins with Sierra attending a New Year's Eve party before her death, and a warning the story discusses suicide.
Photos taken around 10 p.m. show her smiling, radiant. The next day, her fellow officers found her in that dress on her bathroom floor with a bullet hole between her eyes. Her service gun was in her lap. A fired bullet casing was still lodged inside. Soot marked a finger on each hand.
SDPD investigated her death, calling it a suicide. Joining me now is the podcast's host and producer, Katie Hyson, as she covers racial justice and social equity for KPBS. Welcome, Katie.
Thanks, Maya.
I want to start with how this story got on your radar. Sierra died on New Year's Day, 2018, so almost 8 years ago. So why did you decide that you needed to tell this story now?
It was Sierra's mom that reached out to me in January, and she had seen reporting I'd done on a lawsuit that alleged domestic violence by a male San Diego police officer against the female officer that he married. And Sierra's mom told me that her own daughter's story had never been told, and I started digging.
It's a 5-episode series, and the first episode is so powerful, and you dedicated the entire first episode to understanding Sierra, who she was, how she is remembered. Why was that important to you?
It was important to me that listeners care about her life before we started picking apart her death. Personally, I've lost someone that I love to a violent death, and the news coverage, it felt like, really reduced her whole person to the worst thing that had happened to her, and I never wanted to do that to someone else. For me, Sierra's parents and her family trusted me with her story, and to me, that's her whole story, not just how she died.
One of the things that resonated with me when I listened to that episode was that her parents said that for them, it is always January 1st, and they just can't move past that date. And another thing that you explore is how police departments should respond to toxic relationships within their ranks. Here is a clip from that second episode.
SDPD detectives were told by multiple sources, including their own officers, that the relationship wasn't healthy. The family believes that should have prompted a more thorough investigation of Sierra's death. Her family thinks if the police had dug deeper, they would have discovered more details about how the relationship was unhealthy. Details that don't appear in the case records they released.
Very powerful. And Katie, without spoiling the rest of the series, can you tell us what you learned about toxic relationships, how these things are investigated while you were covering this podcast?
Yeah, so a lot of people knew that Sierra was in an unhealthy relationship, and in my few years reporting on SDPD, she's not the first female officer to be in that situation or the last. And an SDPD spokesperson told me that they're limited by state law on how they can reprimand officers and what they can reprimand them for. And so unless an officer is having unbecoming behavior while they're on duty, or they're breaking a law, they really treat anything in their off time as their personal life and relationships, and they don't intervene.
So episodes 1 and 2 are out right now, and I really do encourage our viewers and our KPBS listeners to listen to those podcasts. Episode 3 is out tomorrow. So can you give us a little bit of a preview of what we can expect?
I managed to reconstruct what we can know of her last night alive through phone records and witness statements and interviews, and that really leads up and sets the stage for the next episode, where we look at how the department investigated her death.
I'm really looking forward to that. Katie Hyson, thank you so much and congratulations.
Thanks, Maya.
And Katie's podcast is called One of Their Own. You can listen at kpbs.org/One of Their Own or wherever you get your podcasts. If you or someone you know needs help, contact the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline by calling or texting the number on your screen, 988.
I'm Jeff Bennett. Tonight on the NewsHour, a judge throws out the cases against former FBI Director James Comey and New York Attorney General Letitia James. That's at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
The Trump administration is working on a new proposal to address health care costs. This comes after Republicans rejected Democrats' demand to extend enhanced Affordable Care Act subsidies during the government shutdown. Here's Julia Benbrook with what we know about the framework.
According to people familiar with the matter, President Donald Trump is planning to unveil a new proposal addressing health care costs soon. This as his administration tries to avert a spike in premiums driven by the expiration of key Affordable Care Act subsidies at the end of the year. If the subsidies do expire on December 31st, there would be a big impact. KFF, a nonpartisan health policy research group, predicts the premiums people pay would more than double next year. Now, the administration's proposal is not final, and the timing and content could still change. In fact, in a statement, a White House official made that clear, writing, quote, "Until President Trump makes an announcement himself, any reporting about the administration's health care positions is mere speculation." But here's what we know about the framework under discussion. It envisions temporarily extending the ACA subsidies in some form while incorporating a series of guardrails aimed at limiting their scope. It may also include new income limits and a requirement that all enrollees pay some form of premium. This topic was, of course, at the center of the government shutdown. Democrats were pushing for an extension of enhanced health care subsidies at that time. While that did not happen, Senate Democrats did promise a mid-December vote on it, spurring the effort by Trump and his aides to develop their own competing proposal. At the White House, I'm Julia Benbrook.
Americans are heading into the holidays feeling more stressed than last year, and that is according to a new national poll from the American Psychiatric Association. KPBS health reporter Heidi DeMarco looks at what's driving the anxiety.
In anticipation of the travel rush, family gatherings, and credit card bills, some San Diegans are already bracing for a stressful season.
Two things I'm hearing the most in terms of an increase in anxiety related to holiday stress this year are financial concerns and then just concerns about like familial conflicts, folks that might not see eye to eye on like morals or values or politics.
A new national poll from the American Psychiatric Association shows nearly half of adults 18 to 35 expect more stress this holiday season.
Holiday travel is increasingly expensive and stressful, especially for a group that is more underemployed than, other age demographics.
Ann Cusack is a psychologist at UC San Diego Health. She works with many younger adults. That's the group that reported the most stress.
I think as our country has gotten more politically divided, family tensions have come up around that as well.
Expected holiday stress has hovered around 30% since 2022. But this year, the number of people surveyed who expect stress around the holidays jumped to 41%. The poll shows two kinds of stress: holiday-specific worries like missing loved ones or affording gifts, and bigger picture anxiety like the economy and healthcare. Cusack says both are showing up in her sessions, along with political worries.
So, it's definitely a time of extremes, of feeling kind of all the emotions.
In San Diego, she says immigrant families and international students face additional challenges.
And people who won't be able to go home for the holidays because of visa concerns or because they worried they wouldn't be able to come back into the country.
The poll also found the cost of the holidays weighs heavily, especially here where the cost of living is already high. Despite the increase in stress, the number of respondents who say the holidays boost their mood increased this year over last. Heidi DeMarco, KPBS News.
And speaking of the holidays, if you are stumped on what to ask Santa for Christmas this year, how about a gift that will create memories for a lifetime? Like a vacation. Now is the best time to plan a trip and save. Jen Sullivan explains the big discounts you can find on what's known as Travel Tuesday.
When it comes to holiday shopping, Black Friday and Cyber Monday are the Super Bowl for retail. But after those two big days is a lesser-known doorbuster day called Travel Tuesday.
Travel Tuesday is the most comprehensive day of deals across the travel industry.
Travel expert Emily Kaufman, known as the Travel Mom, says the Tuesday after Thanksgiving is when you can score major discounts on flights, cruises, hotel stays, and even travel packages.
Travel is such a huge category and is in such high demand that they curated and created their own special day.
But unlike Black Friday deals, which can extend through the entire month of December, Kaufman says many of the travel bargains only last 24 hours. Here's some of the details on the discounts you can score. Kaufman says Great Wolf Lodge, which has locations around the country, has a big sale for Travel Tuesday.
They're having a one-day flash sale, which has savings of 40% on standard rooms and up to 50% for premium or themed rooms.
Personal finance site NerdWallet recently came up with a list of the best deals for Travel Tuesday. Big hotel chains are slashing prices. Hilton is offering up to 50% off of some stays. Marriott up to 40%. And many Hyatt hotels will be offering up to 30% off. It all depends on the location and dates. The secret to Travel Tuesday isn't luck, it's preparation.
Oftentimes, these deals require a specific promo code, so make sure you do your research ahead of time, and they're for select dates.
If you're looking for cheaper flights, Kaufman says travelers could save up to 40% off through the flight booking app Hopper. For Consumer Watch, I'm Jen Sullivan.
We're learning more about how paid parking at Balboa Park will affect local groups. The city of San Diego says there are exceptions for some volunteer groups whose members may still park for free, but the San Diego Rose Society, which manages the upkeep of the park's Rose Garden, is not among them. They explained to our media partner KGTV that they aren't one of the main volunteer groups and meet only once a month. Many of their members are older and live outside the city of San Diego, so that means that they're going to have to pay the higher non-resident prices.
I really wish that they wouldn't charge us any parking for any resident. I think especially the volunteers. I'm afraid to see what happens to this Rose Garden in the next year because of the lack of support and enthusiasm for coming here and having to pay to park.
A city staff report shows the new fees are projected to bring in just under $3 million, and that is about $10 million less than initially projected in the new budget. Paid parking goes into effect January 5th.
Well, we do have a lot to talk about, but the good news is our forecast is a lot quieter for the beginning and middle part of our extended forecast. Then we get into more active weather next weekend. So it is going to be a much quieter week, which is excellent news as we ramp up to Thanksgiving. A lot of travel. People flying, driving, and various different forms of transportation. We're going to be in good shape weather-wise. Storm track is currently aimed way north up into the Pacific Northwest, mainly north of Oregon. It's more of a Washington and British Columbia storm track for now. And then eventually there will be a buckling southward with a jet stream, and that'll bring another storm system back into our area this coming weekend. So it will turn colder during Thanksgiving weekend. And we're going to have some showers and even some mountain snow around later this coming weekend following Thanksgiving. But tonight, 51, a little cool out there, mainly clear skies, and a great day for Travel Tuesday, or if you're still working. We're going to be dealing with some great weather. High pressure here. You can see on the edge of the map, a little windy into the plains. The tail of a front kind of scooting east of the Rockies. So we're going to be sitting this one out. And overall, it's a pretty nice setup here. Beautiful, bright sky, 72 into San Diego. El Cajon, 79. Ramona matching that. Borrego Springs, 74 degrees. Mount Laguna will be a little cool up there in the high ground at 53 degrees. Wednesday, not much change here on the map. High pressure with cooler air in the plains. But for us in the southwest and across Southern California, beautiful weather into San Diego. We're looking good out there. I do want to point out that while the storm track is primarily way north for now, we're going to begin to see some high-level clouds roll through around Thanksgiving, but we'll also be dealing with a mix of sun and clouds. But eventually, this next dip in the jet stream brings a storm system into our area. Look at this. This is Sunday afternoon and evening with some rain returning to the area at the very end of Thanksgiving weekend. That's a big travel day. So the trip to your Thanksgiving destination will be a lot smoother than the trip back from Thanksgiving, perhaps, if you are traveling. You can see mostly sunny skies most days. Clouds increase. A little cooler for the coast on Saturday as that onshore wind picks up. And then Sunday's a day with the rain showers returning. Inland areas, really nice, turning warmer, relatively steamy for this time of the year Wednesday, but we cool down on Saturday ahead of the next storm system. Similar story into the mountains there, more cloud cover Saturday, but until then, not many hurdles, not many weather woes, and the deserts here were looking good. And again, a little bit cooler, a little more cloud cover Saturday. Rain showers return on Sunday. I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Jeff Cornish for KPBS News.
A beloved and longtime resident of the San Diego Zoo has died. Grandma, a Galapagos tortoise believed to be 141 years old, passed away this past week. Wildlife health care teams say that she died on November 20th of ongoing conditions related to her age. Grandma was known as the Queen of the Zoo by her care specialists for nearly a century. She served as an ambassador for both the zoo and the reptile conservation worldwide. Oh, man. Well, here is a look at what we're working on for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom. On NPR's Morning Edition, new research shows that young adults benefit even from a short one-week break from social media. And family dynamics can be challenging to navigate around the Thanksgiving dinner table. KPBS Midday Edition is getting some advice from a family therapist. Get the latest from KPBS delivered right into your inbox. We have a variety of newsletters, and that includes the daily headlines, the KPBS Arts, streaming picks, and of course our North County Focus. You can go to kpbs.org, and from there you can look for the newsletter section, which you'll find on the top of your screen. And from there you can sign up with your email address. And that's where you can find all of our stories from tonight. Again, that's kpbs.org. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Have a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, air, restoration, and flood services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit BillHowe.com. And by the Conrad Previs Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. By viewers like you. Thank you.